Okay, so if you're feeling like you're missing some important secret about how to succeed in fundraising, you're not alone. Even organizations with seemingly the most compelling missions struggle sometimes. You might even write grants eloquently. You might speak to groups confidently or share your cause with passion and charisma, but none of that matters if your organization isn't fundable. Okay, let me just take a moment to explain what that means, because being fundable isn't about whether or not your mission is worthy. It's about whether your organization is compelling and attractive to the right funders, the people or organizations most likely to fund your mission. Today, I'm going to share 5 key questions that funders are using to evaluate your organization when they receive your funding requests, whether you're going after grants or major donors or corporate support. And being able to answer one of these questions in particular is going to save you literally months of time chasing the wrong funders. I say that from personal experience. Even if you're a brand new organization, or even if your budget is tiny, you can start building up your fundability right away by getting clear on your answers to these critical questions. So I've said this before, but it's really worth repeating. You can be the best grant writer in the whole world and still fail to get funding if your organization isn't positioned correctly in your community. Being fundable means being credible and trustworthy, effective at getting results, and aligned with the right funders. It means your nonprofit is positioned in a way that makes the right funders say, okay, this is worth backing. So here are 5 questions to evaluate your fundability. First, when funders hear from you, they're quietly asking themselves, okay, so let's say I gave you $50,000 or $100,000. What exactly would change in our community in the next 12 months? And this is bigger than just your mission statement. Funders are looking for clarity on your ultimate vision and goals, where you are headed, and your levers, which means which specific investments need to be made that would deepen or grow your impact. Because clarity reduces their risk as funders. And when your clarity on your goals and your levers is strong, it helps the funders align expectations, what success looks like, how you'll get there, and what progress they can expect to hear back from you along the way. So even if you are a smaller organization or just starting out, here are a few things you can do to develop a compelling answer to this specific question. The first is to write your 1-sentence next year goal describing what change you want to create. For example, by December, we will help 50 unemployed adults secure living wage employment by expanding our employer partnerships. Second, you want to think about and list your 3 growth levers where funding would create the change fastest. It might be investments in more staffing, increasing program capacity, investing in systems and technology, forming new partnerships, or expanding your marketing and outreach, or something else. Third, you want to turn all of that into a simple if-then statement. For example, if we invest $50,000 in employer outreach and job seeker programming, then we can expand our job placement program to serve 50 unemployed adults, which leads to measurable increases in income stability. But being able to explain how funding investments could make an impact isn't quite enough. You also need to be able to answer our second question. Funders are wondering, how will you measure your success? What data or feedback will you collect to show whether or not your efforts are actually working? So when funders consider your requests, they really want evidence of 2 things. 1, how well your program is working, and 2, evidence that you're learning and improving. They're human beings. They understand that things happen with your programs that may be out of your control, but they want to know that you at least have the systems in place to collect data and evidence of how your program is working, and the adaptability to tweak your efforts to improve your results if things aren't working how you envisioned. It doesn't have to mean expensive evaluation processes. I know that can be really out of reach for smaller organizations. Even organizations with limited resources can build practical measurement systems that help them learn and improve over time by doing some of the following. First, you could pick 3 to 5 outcomes that you actually control or influence. For example, the percent to complete your program, or the percent to improve your program, or percent to remain housed, etc. You can even use a spreadsheet or monthly check-in to keep track. And then you want to add a couple of lightweight feedback loops like a participant survey, even if it's just a few questions, or a partner or stakeholder feedback call quarterly. I have seen newer organizations win funding because they could say, here's what we track, here's what we learned, and here's what we changed, because that really signals competence, and competence gets funding. Which brings me to a question funders are constantly asking themselves, but many nonprofit leaders fail to answer because it forces them to look outward, not inward. Funders want to know, in your community, what role do you play compared to other organizations on the same issue? Funders are receiving dozens, sometimes hundreds of funding requests every year. So they're constantly making comparative decisions between organizations. Your nonprofit isn't being evaluated in a vacuum. And all of that means you need language to articulate your organization's unique role where you serve. For example, we're an innovative pilot testing a new approach, or we're a backbone organization that coordinates multiple partners across this issue. Or maybe we're a direct service provider for a group not yet served by other organizations. Or maybe we focus on systems change or policy and advocacy to solve this problem from its roots. This is really critical for good positioning from a funder's perspective, and that's because when you can clearly describe your role in the ecosystem, you stop sounding like just another organization seeking funding, and you start sounding like a missing piece of the puzzle that's really important. So here's what you need to do to answer this question well. The first is to make an ecosystem map or list of 10 or 20 organizations in your service area. Then categorize them by role. Are they direct service, advocacy, backbone, a research organization? Third, you want to write one sentence filling in the blanks to create a clear picture of your role. Most organizations in our area do blank. We uniquely do blank, which matters because blank. Now, right after the sponsor break, I'm going to give you the one framing shift that makes funders feel that sense of urgency to fund your mission now. Once you've done the work, once funders and donors want to support you, you also need an easy, professional way to actually collect and manage donations. So it's the perfect moment to thank today's sponsor, Click and Pledge. Click and Pledge's fundraising platform makes it easy for nonprofits of all sizes to grow and scale. You're going to get professional grade tools for super affordable startup level costs from day one. They've got customizable donation forms that you can plug right into your website, and this creates the foundation for your messaging and online fundraising strategy early. But Click and Pledge also has a number of other tools included in their affordable flat monthly costs that you can use as your nonprofit grows. For example, their Swiper One tool lets you collect donations at in-person events, feeding that data directly into your platform so that you don't have to do data entry later. Or their peer-to-peer fundraising feature, so your supporters can go out and raise money for you. They've got video fundraising with embedded donation links right in those videos, text-to-give tools, donor stewardship and management tools to help keep your relationships strong, Salesforce and other integrations all included with no contracts or surprise add-on fees. Now, here's the thing. Unlike some platforms that increase your fees as you grow, Click and Pledge's pricing stays the same, whether you have 10 donors or 10,000. So you can use the QR code and link in the description below to check out Click and Pledge. You can book a demo, talk to their team, and get your first $25 monthly fee waived. When funders see your requests for funding hit their desk, they're also asking themselves, why is now the right moment to invest or fund your mission? It's tempting and easy for nonprofits to frame their mission as timeless and just say, we'll do good work whenever the money comes. But because funders are getting requests from many different organizations all the time, they are constantly managing urgency and trade-offs. Funders are choosing to fund projects and causes connected to growing problems organizations can slow down or stop, unmet needs organizations are uniquely positioned to address, and time-bound opportunities that organizations are going to miss if they wait. And like I've said before, in the real world, the pressure is real. Many nonprofits are reporting rising service demand and constrained capacity, which means waiting to tackle some of these community problems is just going to make it cost more to address them later. And to be clear, this is not about using fear tactics. We never want to create false urgency, but explaining why your work matters using one of these 3 framing strategies that I'm about to share could help funders see why your work is worthy of support now. The first is prevention. If we receive funding to intervene in this problem now, we'll prevent this problem from escalating into this other bigger problem later. The second framing is momentum. We have traction like special partners, an influx of referrals, or strong outcomes right now. Funding now scales what's already working. And the third one is a closing window. This moment or unique environment that we're in right now, one with collaboration or policy or a certain public attitude, exists now, and we won't be able to access it or capitalize on it later. That's why funding is needed now. Instead of saying we need money to expand our mission, you're saying we're turning away 40% of referrals right now. Funding now would let us add 1 cohort per month, which prevents these people on our waiting list from falling through the cracks. And finally, the question that decides whether you'll keep wasting time pitching the wrong funders. Funders are wondering, are we the right fit for this organization? Your job is to figure out which funders are built to fund your model and why. And this is huge and something I see nonprofit leaders miss all the time. Positioning is also about choosing the right audience. It feels counterintuitive. Why wouldn't you just ask for support from every funder everywhere? But the thing is, not every funder funds every mission or every approach. So you could potentially waste a lot of time chasing the wrong funders when you could be doubling down on the funders who actually are interested in your cause and your role in the ecosystem. Some funders love innovative new programs or projects. Others want long-standing proven programs with measurable outcomes. Some funders want to fund advocacy and systems change, and others won't touch that at all. So your fundability increases when you can say, this funder funds the type of work we do, and here is how we fit. And if possible, you also want to spend some time building relationships with the right fit funders long before you submit a funding request. The Center for Effective Philanthropy's research consistently shows that strong relationships and transparency between funders and organizations influences ongoing support. So here's what you need to do. Search online and build your top 25 list of potential funders, whether it's grant makers or corporate supporters or others. And then tag each with the issue that they care about, their geographic service area, types of funding provided, like for programs or pilots or capacity building, etc., and then their typical grant size. Then you're going to prepare 2 versions of your pitch. Outcomes and infrastructure, that's one based on your organization's outcomes for evidence-focused funders, and then one based on your infrastructure levers, the things that, if funded, would expand your impact. And that one's going to be for funders who support capacity building. When I started thinking about my organization's funding request through the lens of funder fit, it really changed everything for me because it stopped fundraising from feeling like rejection and started feeling like more like filtering. If it's a no, it doesn't usually mean you're not good enough. It just means you're not aligned at this time. What I really want you to take away from all this is that fundability is something you work towards. It's not an inherent personality trait or something only some organizations can have. So here's your next step. Right after this video, I want you to take 20 minutes and score yourself 0 to 2 on each of the 5 questions. 0 if your answer to that question is unclear, 1 if it's somewhat clear, and 2 if your answer is clear and provable. Then pick the lowest score and work on improving that this week. And if you want help becoming more fundable with support and templates like a funder fit tracker, budgeting tools, fundraising emails, and a step-by-step roadmap to build a fundraising campaign and foundation, my 0 to 100K fundraising starter toolkit is linked below and on my website at changemakercafe.com. Next week, I'm going to talk about what I learned that made securing corporate sponsorships so much easier. You definitely don't want to miss that one. I'm Amber Melanie Smith. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.